Welcome to episode 46 of the Cover 2 presented by Tigervision. As always, I'm Patrick Neal with Grayson Mann. It's always us, so shouldn't be surprised that we are still here. This week, it is Super Bowl preview week. Unfortunately, we couldn't get any tickets to Radio Row.
Yeah, I mean, like, we applied, and they just were like, you guys would just take all the attention.
Yeah.
Cover 2.
We'd end up getting interviewed, I'm sure. But
I think that Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, they're avid listeners, obviously.
Of course.
So
of course.
We just couldn't also with our schedules.
Busy students.
Patrick's doing the halftime show. I got some stuff going on later with with LeBron and a scoring title. I got to be in LA. There's just a lot going on.
I will say I am excited for the halftime show.
I am very.
Rihanna? What would be your dream halftime show?
I mean, I'm an 80s guy, so I don't like.
Oh, okay.
It'd pretty much be like bringing out like the Graveyard of Boston, but I would love to see them perform.
Okay.
I think I would love to see. This would be like, I guess it would depend on the geographical location. I would love to see like a Zach Brown band type of.
Okay.
I think you could pull out some true 2010s bangers.
Yeah. The thing is, I feel like with the Super Bowl halftime show, you got to be like a performer just as much as a musician. But Chris Stapleton's doing the national anthem, which is awesome.
That would be sick. Jimmy Buffett's one too that comes to mind. He's more of like a chillax thing, doesn't really feel the football vibe, but it's my kind of energy.
Yeah, I gotcha. I think I'd go, honestly, Rihanna, bring back like Bruno Mars, because Bruno Mars was a great halftime show. And then like maybe get like Drake. I mean,
Drake's never a bad pick.
Yeah, and then like if you could get Paul McCartney to do like 4 or 5 seconds with Rihanna. Although I guess you'd have to get Kanye too, and
that's probably not an idea right now.
It's a little bit controversial, but we won't talk about that. Anyways, besides the halftime show, we're going to talk some football today.
Super Bowl 57.
Surprisingly. So we're going to do some Super Bowl Sunday, a little preview, like we mentioned at the start, and then we're also going to, as Grayson described it before the show, talk about some QB trauma. We're going to go through kind of each team that might need a quarterback, might need to switch it up, and discuss what we think they should do.
Pretty much treat it like we're at the lunch table and it's in between periods and we're gossiping about the quarterbacks. Like, it's grab your lunchbox. It's time to talk about some juicy gossip.
Oh, interesting. I like that little metaphor.
There we go.
It was good. Poetic. But anyways, let's talk about the Super Bowl at first. The game of all games, the most important game of the season.
There we go.
We should probably talk about it. What are your key points in this game, Grayson?
So 2 weeks ago, in the AFC and NFC Championship games, this is my biggest thing every year, especially when my team isn't playing in the Super Bowl. First and foremost, I always want a good matchup, and I think we've been really hyping this one up. It's the best team in each conference. They both finished as the top seed. Can we not get a repeat of the San Francisco Eagles disaster where it just falls apart? But the matchup that I'm really curious for is the Eagles' offensive line versus Chris Jones, who has become, it seems like each game he's getting better and better, and he terrorized your Cincinnati Bengals, and I cannot wait to see how Lane Johnson, Dickerson, Kelsey, I'm really excited to see
everybody.
How the vocal tune of Jordan Mailata helps defend the Kansas City defensive line. Karlaftis, Chris Jones, guys like, it's a good front seven.
Frank Clark, who I believe he's tied for like all-time leader in playoff sacks, correct?
Yeah, he is.
So maybe he'll break it in this game.
That'd be kind of cool. I'm a big history guy. Love to see it.
Yeah, but I think the trenches are definitely where this game is going to live.
Yes.
Because, you got the Eagles defensive line who has, let me get the numbers right, Hassan Reddick, who has 19.5 total sacks on the season.
Pretty much eliminated Brock Purdy and added to a discussion we'll talk about later.
Yeah, this is including playoffs. Brandon Graham has 12, Javon Hargrave has 12, Josh Sweat has 12.5, and Fletcher Cox has 8.
And for defensive tackle guys, I know Chris Jones' numbers are kind of an anomaly. That's impressive.
Yeah. So it's them going up against the Chiefs' offensive line, and then it's just Chris Jones going against the Eagles' entire offensive line. But I think he could take them on his own.
He could.
Sure.
And we know the Eagles, they want to run the football. They want to be able to use Jalen Hurts in that dynamic, because Jalen Hurts can do so many different things. They love the RPO as well. And so they want to kind of get him comfortable. This is an unfamiliar territory for some of these Philadelphia players. For Kansas City, They've been there, done that, obviously with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
I'm curious to see how his ankle is. I know that it was fine, but as the game kind of wore on, you saw there was the wear and the tear. It's going to be very interesting to see, is it 100%? Is he going to be able to do some of those magical plays? But I want to point back to something you said after the AFC Championship games when we kind of broke those down, was it kind of simplified the Chiefs' offense. It allowed the Mahomes to just sit there and survey a defense, which was almost to their benefit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it'll have been 2 weeks since his last game, so I think he'll definitely be well rested, and I think that ankle will be healthier. But yeah, you saw in the Bengals-Chiefs game how Mahomes was willing to take those checkdowns early and often, which led to successful plays. Because what the Bengals have always kind of liked to do against the Chiefs is drop 8 into coverage, just sit in the zones, and when they're basically banking on Mahomes trying to run around, which is dangerous, but that can also occasionally lead to the Bengals defense being able to pounce on it. When he was able to just kind of check it down easy, get a 5, 6, 7 yard gain, then you're ahead of the sticks. You can kind of do whatever you want on second down, do whatever you want on third down, and they just kind of move their way down the field. They were just very, very successful with it.
Yeah, and they have this new guy, Isaiah Pacheco, who's been an unbelievable late-round gem for them.
Yeah, he loves running into things.
He takes checkdowns. He takes 3-yard checkdowns and makes them 15-yard, 20-yard, 25-yard plays, which maybe they look at that film from Cincinnati and go, okay, even if Mahomes is 100% ready to go, give 10 the rock and let him go to work.
Yeah, they have a new number 10, you could say, that has been very, very good. Maybe not to the level of Tyreek Hill, but there aren't a lot of people in the entire world who can do what Tyreek Hill does. But Isaiah Pacheco loves running angry.
He does.
He is. I mean, it's almost like I'm trying to think of a comparison. Like it's almost just like he's all hyped up on like he took like too much pre-workout or something, and it's just like he almost like shudders when he runs, or
he's like maxing out.
It's like he's agitated. Like it's like if you put Mentos into like a liter of Coke and then like shook it up. That's what he runs like.
That is actually fantastic. Somebody please clip that. That's a completely accurate description of how Pacheco runs.
I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, he just that's just how he runs, and it works out for him because
awesome.
He loves just running into things, picking up an extra few yards, and toting that rock.
We are really going on with the metaphors today. We got the high school
We're
lunch.
feeling poetic.
The menthol, the Coke, and you shake it up. Okay, I do have a question for you. And I don't know if this is worthy of a thread because it is the last game, so it is kind of, you understand the moment. But the Eagles haven't been tested at all in about a month and a half. They got past San Francisco with relative ease. They got past the Giants with relative ease. I know it's a Super Bowl, and you can kind of psych yourself into that mentality of, hey, we're going to be facing up against the best of the best. But when you haven't played that style of football in a long time, do you think it hurts Philly in the beginning, or do the scriptwriters have something else?
I mean,
what do the scriptwriters have in store for us on
I hope
Sunday?
the scriptwriters have cooked up something fantastic for Sunday. I hope it's like, the meme where it's like the Phil Collins like playing the piano and it's on fire.
Yes.
That's what I hope it's like, but I don't know. Maybe, they haven't been tested per se, but this Eagles roster is just fantastic. The coaching staff is fantastic. Maybe they haven't been tested because they are so good.
That's true.
I don't know. Like, I mean, if you really look at it, I think the only position group I'm taking Kansas City over Philly is quarterback. And maybe like kicker too with Butker. But look, offensive line, probably Philly.
Give it to me.
Running back, we were talking about Pacheco, but Miles Sanders has had a fantastic year as well. And they have Kenneth Gainwell, who's looked really good in this playoffs, kind of surprisingly and out of nowhere. And even Boston Scott, who loves scoring against the Giants.
He does.
But then you also have receivers. I'd probably take Philly as well. Defensive line, you probably have to take. I mean, Chris Jones is a monster, but we were talking about the numbers that this Eagles defensive line as a whole has put up, and it is historic. And then you also have, their secondary has been great with
Tight end, I guess, is the only thing.
Yeah,
you give
tight
Kansas
end.
City.
I guess I kind of forgot about Kelsey. Which, how do you do that? But speaking of the secondary, this Chiefs secondary may potentially be starting like all rookies across both cornerback spots if L'Jarius Sneed isn't healthy enough to go. So they've looked good in this playoff so far, but that could be potentially an issue that the Eagles trying to exploit.
Yeah, I think the Philly roster, I think that may be a point that's worthy of being thought about is they are that good. And so they just have gone through the rest of the NFC. They've just been playing inferior rosters. So when it kind of equals out, then we get a good game. So we'll see how it really goes. Do you want to give a score prediction?
Well,
Also, this whole script writing thing, who scripted 13-3 in the Super Bowl? That's terrible for the NFL. That's my debunking of the script.
Maybe they just started script writing,
Oh, post-COVID?
Yeah.
Just when the trend started to pick up, they're
Maybe.
picking up on it. Yeah.
Supposedly the score has been leaked already online. What was it?
37-34.
37-34?
If that's true, I mean, I'm all for it. But
Yeah, that seems like it'd be a great game.
that sounds like
Look, I've stuck with the Eagles all
have.
season. I think I got to stick with them again. I'm also cheering for them, honestly.
I am as well.
They are just a fun team to watch. I mean, I love watching Mahomes as well, but I'm gonna go. Let's go Eagles 24, Chiefs 20.
Okay, so you got a little bit of a lower scoring game than probably.
I feel like everybody's gonna be hyped for points, but both these defenses are playing great in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, I think I really agree with you. Actually, I think that it's going to be Steve Spagnuolo. I think I pronounced that right.
Yes.
The Chiefs defensive
I think
coordinator, and this Philly defensive line that you've been able to point out these numbers. I think the first half could be, and it's popular to say the feeling out process, but I could see maybe a quarter and a half of these teams trying to figure some things out. Maybe you have a little low scoring in the beginning, but I say it's relatively close at the halftime. I think it really explodes offensively in the second half. I could see a 28-24, 20. I'm going to go 28-27 Philly. I think it's going to end in a thriller.
1-point game.
I'm going to take a 1-point game.
Oh, okay. Who wins Super Bowl MVP?
I'm going to go with a wild card of Devonta Smith. I think he has a couple big plays. Jalen Hurts is going to probably have a touchdown or two, but we could see a potential Julian Edelman-like performance.
The Eagles win on 2nd and 26 with a touchdown to Devonta Smith, just like
Maybe
Alabama.
so.
Maybe. That'd be fantastic if that happened.
Because I could see them honing in on A.J. Brown, and then Devontae is able to kind of pick on the Chiefs' third or second corner.
Yeah.
And really, because he's a very underrated route runner. The Eagles are so good this year. People don't really appreciate how well they've been able to cultivate this roster. I remember 2 years ago, they were terrible. They were getting beat up after week after week. It's been so impressive to watch them. I just can't wait to see the fruits of their labor come to just really get to see it all put together.
Yeah. The Andy Reid Bowl.
The Andy Reid Bowl.
Forgot to mention that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one of the key storylines. That and of course the Kelsey brothers.
Absolutely. Does Mama Kelsey get to put out a coin toss?
I think she said she didn't want to,
Which is
because
the ultimate mom answer.
yeah, I think she said there's too many people that have, done a lot more for the NFL than she has done.
Hey,
but she's provided two
stars.
Yeah, two probably Hall of Famers as well. So,
So we're both going to take Philly in this.
Yeah, which is, if you have the Eagles thing across the bottom of the screen with our score predictions, probably means the Chiefs are going to win now, but it's also only two of us predicting it.
Yeah, it's
not like an entire panel.
Yeah, that'd be pretty unfortunate if we just got freezing cold take the next week. But hey, that means we're getting noticed.
Yeah, if we're getting freezing cold take, then we're going places. But anyways, why don't we transition? We're going to talk a little QB offseason drama.
The bell just rung. We're heading out to the lunchroom.
So
go get your crappy school lunch. Let's talk some QB drama.
I've went through kind of the entirety of the NFL, kind of put down some teams that I think could potentially have quarterback questions, let's say.
At the very least, yes.
And I guess we'll kind of run through them. Maybe some are going to be a little bit more of a discussion than others, but let's start NFC North, Packers.
Okay. This one has been a consistent debate for the last 2 years, but Rodgers is making a decision he might make his decision before next week's show.
Okay.
He is,
Interesting.
according to Pat McAfee, going on a 4-day darkness trip, which means he's going in the wilderness alone for 4 days by himself. So we're either going to see where Aaron Rodgers goes next, or we're going to get a Schefter bomb that he got attacked by a grizzly bear. It is one or the other.
Yeah, you're going to say we're either going to see where he goes next, or we're not going to see him at all ever again. But
I hope it's the first option.
it's interesting. Where is he going in the wilderness?
It's okay. Hold on. It says he'll spend 4 days in a small house in complete darkness.
That's kind of weird. I'm not going to lie. I mean,
Aaron Rodgers
complete darkness?
Complete dark. I guess he's just going to
Does he
sit there.
bring candles?
I don't know.
Does he bring food? I mean,
I'm
what
sure
are you
he
doing
does.
Isn't that like how people go crazy? They spend like prolonged amounts of time in darkness, or like in the all white rooms.
Aaron speaks to me as someone who would light up incense in the room and just sit there for 42 hours.
Yeah,
And just,
he'll be calling his spirits like Kodak or something.
he's gonna just start levitating. Just
Well, what do the Packers do, anyways?
I think it just depends on what Rodgers does. If he decides to stay, they're like, cool, we got a top quarterback for another year. But I honestly think if you're management and you have to keep playing this game, eventually it's going to start to backfire. I think you trade him.
Yeah.
And I think you try to get some value out of him while you can. Obviously, with Brady gone, there's going to be a lot of traction, because I would assume he would have been probably preferred just in terms of the commitment.
Yep.
But if Rodgers was on the market, where would you see him go?
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that? Okay.
Because we have other teams. But yeah, I think this is like the third or fourth offseason in a row where it's been Rodgers, is he leaving talk.
It's the will they, won't they. To add to the drama, it's like
it's the middle school dating drama, you know.
will they,
you know
won't
how
they?
it is.
Will they go to the Valentine's dance together?
Oh, I mean, Valentine's is this coming weekend. So, or I guess not this coming weekend, in a week.
Here at Cover 2, we encourage you to pursue your dreams and get the girl that you want.
Or guy.
Or guy.
But yeah, I think the Packers are going to go with Jordan Love.
I think so. They gotta eventually see this one through.
Yeah. Let's go. So I have question marks by the Lions and Bears.
Okay, I have my thoughts on both.
Okay.
And they should
Let me
stick
hear
with
'em.
the quarterback for both teams.
That's what I'm thinking is going to happen too.
If they went and traded for Bryce Young, if the Bears do that, I would be floored, because I think if Fields went on the market, he'd be a very hot commodity. I know that Fields isn't the best passer. I guess they're just doing their homework because they have the number 1 pick, so they might as well. But I don't think Fields is done. He's not. Usually when you have this pick, it's have they done enough to justify them not drafting a quarterback? And I think they have.
So
It's worth a discussion, maybe.
I think if you were to go like Bryce Young at 1, I think you're going to have very similar problems that you have already with Justin Fields, in that he's not going to have enough time. Bryce Young is a small quarterback. He's listed at like 6 feet, 190, but that is not true. I think he's a solid like 5'9", 5'10",
He's tiny.
180 maybe.
I think he's Manziel's size.
Yeah, but I think you keep Justin Fields, draft as much help as you can get around him, sign as much help as you can get with him, draft like a Jalen Carter, Will Anderson on the other side of the ball, but get as much help around him as possible, see what he does. He's a dynamic runner.
I think they trade down.
Yeah.
They try to get a player.
I think that's what's going to happen, based on reports and based on whatever I've seen on like Twitter. But the Lions, I think they also keep Jared Goff. I don't know if you have a much better option. I wouldn't try and go get like Derek Carr.
No, I think that if you're going to stick with Jared Goff, then there's no reason to go get like a Derek Carr, because they're kind of the same quarterback at this point.
Pretty much.
If they got like a great offer to potentially, I think there would only be if this was like Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
At the first pick, then you'd be like, oh yeah, let's definitely have this discussion. But Lawrence is 6'6", 215 in the NFL, and Bryce Young is a questionable height. We'll find out more at the combine, and they still might not give us the whole answer. But I don't know. I would be more inclined to take Stroud on the size alone if you were gonna, because he's just a bigger dude. And he's not gonna get.
I like Bryce Young a lot.
I do
though.
too.
His pocket presence is. I love watching him maneuver in the pocket.
I think it's a
would say
much
that.
better class than last year. That's no doubt.
Yeah,
No
for
doubt.
sure. All right, I put down the entire NFC South here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the weirdest. It's a strange division.
So Saints.
And they have Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston.
They have no cap space. I think you just have to roll with Jameis probably. I don't know. They're in a tough position.
They're in a very weird spot because they were competitive, but they were also kind of an afterthought.
Yeah.
I never really thought, oh, I gotta watch the Saints today. Andy Dalton.
I think if you're the Falcons,
You gotta go for Lamar.
you got to go for Lamar if you can, but also I need the Desmond Ridder redemption arc. I mean,
You do, man.
look, I want him to get another chance, but I will say, like, if I could get Lamar to go anywhere, it'd probably be Atlanta because, like, you know, you got the Michael Vick in the Lamar Jackson storyline just sitting there. I think it'd be a fantastic offense for him, and he's got weapons. He's got Kyle Pitts that he can use similarly to Mark Andrews.
They're reportedly $100 million in a difference on the contract
Really?
at this very moment. I think that's
Baltimore
and Lamar Jackson in terms of guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So he's probably looking for a Deshaun Watson type contract, if I had to guess.
I would say that's probably fair.
And considering the resume, I mean, he's won a playoff game. He's an MVP. He's won the MVP. On the field, the Ravens are so much better with him on the field.
The Ravens need him.
Yeah. But if they can't come to a contract agreement, which I could also see,
They have a Pro Bowl quarterback sitting on the bench,
Snoop Huntley.
ready in the wings.
Woohoo!
Yeah, you'd probably go with Tyler Huntley, I assume, but
I'd draft a
you're in a
quarterback.
tough position if you're the Ravens if you can't get Lamar. But they can also franchise tag him.
They could.
So let's go Buccaneers.
I think the Buccaneers are in the market for a Derek Carr-like quarterback. A
Yeah,
bridge.
you have
Jimmy G.
an aging kind of everywhere. Kind of. I mean, you got like Tristan Wirfs, who's young, and Winfield, but some of their positions, Levante David, he's getting older. Mike Evans too. You probably try and get a Derek Carr, I guess. The NFC is a little bit weaker, but you could also, if I were Tampa Bay, I'd also maybe consider trying to sell everything off.
You could.
And look to maybe get Caleb Williams next year or something.
I could see them getting Baker Mayfield too. He'll probably be on the market, and you could potentially give him a bridge year, and you potentially draft a quarterback.
I don't know.
They are also in a really weird spot, but that's kind of what they signed
Yeah.
up for when they got Brady.
Panthers, though. The Panthers are in an interesting spot because they could, like, if they have a competent quarterback, their defense is really good. They've got good weapons. They've got, you know, Ike Ekwonu.
And they got Frank Reich. Darnold didn't play bad near the end. He kind of played like crap against the Saints.
I think they probably draft a quarterback. I think they're probably a Will Levis or a Stroud type.
Develop.
Yeah, I saw something on Twitter like Frank Reich has never had a starting quarterback smaller than like 6'4", unless you count like Sam Ellinger for like a week. But I think they draft a quarterback.
There's no doubt. They're one of the teams I would bank on the fact that they draft a QB.
Let's go Seahawks. Keep Geno?
Absolutely.
I think you keep Geno.
He was one of the better quarterbacks in the league this entire year. I think he threw for 30 touchdowns. Who would have guessed at the beginning of the season last year that Geno Smith would be in the discussions? Oh yeah, he should be the guy moving forward. He has completely turned his career out in Seattle. It is so impressive to see what he's done. And in a league like the NFL where patience is thin, it's been incredible to see that it's taken this much time for seeing a player like him blossom when there was so much expectations with him in New York.
Yep.
So
For sure. And then 49ers, also in the NFC West.
Oof, this one's complicated. Joe Montana said they should keep Jimmy Garoppolo and start him.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's interesting because he is what I'd imagine as one of the 49ers spokesmen in terms of the public. I think right now you keep Purdy, but I don't know how that elbow injury works out. They are in.
It's 6 months. It's a 6 months recovery.
So he would be good by the summer. Be running. Because part of you wants to validate the Trey Lance pick, but they have Purdy. They won a lot. They also have Jimmy G. Oh man.
I think you keep Trey Lance, and I think you keep Brock Purdy on the roster.
I think those are the two you keep. You at least try to see if it works with Trey, and then you have a backup option of Purdy.
Yeah, I agree.
That seems like the smart move.
How about Commanders?
Commanders probably need to draft a QB.
Yeah, I could see them What
they
pick
could go
are they?
get.
They're
I think
they're in the teens because they almost made the playoffs. I mean, maybe if like
I think they're
an
11.
Anthony Richardson is available, something like that. Or maybe they get Jimmy Garoppolo.
They have the 16th pick. They could also be a candidate for a bridge quarterback, like a Derek Carr.
I think
Because they still have a really good roster.
yeah, they have a decent roster. Almost made the playoffs. I say if I'm them, go get like a Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
And then Giants, I put a question mark there. They're probably going to re-sign Daniel Jones, I would assume.
Question is how much?
Yeah, that's the big question.
25, 30?
I think no more than 30.
That's got to be the cap on it. I think he knows that too, though.
Yeah,
We'll see how self-aware Daniel Jones is this offseason.
Ravens, we kind of already talked about. Do everything in your power to sign Lamar Jackson. If you have to franchise tag him, do that. But I'd try
Bite the
and sign
bullet
him
on it.
Yeah. Titans. So, and this is an interesting one because I believe if they cut Ryan Tannehill, they're saving a decent amount of money. They're saving, I think, somewhere around 18 million, maybe. I'm trying to find the exact number, but I do believe I can't find the exact number right now, but I think they do save a decent amount of money if they cut Tannehill this year.
Yeah, and he's mostly been solid in his career. He's almost similar to Geno Smith as he turned his career around with a different spot when he finally got a chance. I would say that if they don't like what's out there, they should keep him for maybe one more year and wait for this 2024 thing. They could still potentially make the playoffs, but with the Jacksonville Jaguars getting increasingly better, it might be incredibly difficult to do so.
Yes.
And I don't know if Malik Willis, I don't think they like what they saw with him this year.
I don't think so either, but it looks like the potential out is this year. So if you were going to try and get out of it, probably now. I don't know. I think if you're the Titans, you just try and rebuild, but I don't know if Vrabel really wants to do that. They fired their GM, John Robinson, when when it looked like they were starting to rebuild a little bit. So I don't know if they're very keen on that idea.
Yeah, and then you have the Texans and the Colts listed. They're both teams that are going to draft a QB.
I think so too.
I think the top five.
The Colts are probably the main ones projected to trade up with the Bears to draft a quarterback.
Bryce Young would be interesting with them. I think they're more fit for maybe a Stroud, but
either way,
we'll see. I think C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young will be on to those two teams, and I just don't know which one will be on which.
C.J. Stroud of the Colts and
I think C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young you will see those two names associated with Houston and Indianapolis. I just don't know
which one.
Who's going to jump.
Maybe Will Levis. I mean, he's been rising up boards too, but I'm not the biggest fan of him.
I might add.
But those two are probably the most QB needed teams. Raiders. What do you do here?
Rodgers.
Okay.
That would be. You got Devontae Adams. You can sell him on. Maybe you keep Jacobs too. The Raiders would have to make another splash, but we know Al Davis is not one. Mark Davis, Al Davis, whichever Davis it is. They are ones that like to make splash moves. McDaniels probably thought he was going to get Brady at the end of this year. That felt like that was the consensus before he retired. So it'd be another QB that McDaniels could easily work with in that offense. Rodgers would have Waller, Renfro, Devontae Adams. He wouldn't have to mentor anybody. No young new receivers. And he'd be reunited with his go-to guy, Adams, which would keep him happy.
Would be reunited. So the last team that I have written down is the Jets, who I think is also. I think those are the two main contenders for Aaron Rodgers right now.
Yeah. Oh God. That would be a nightmare.
Not a big fan of Rodgers going to the Jets.
That'd be a nightmare.
So I think Rodgers ends up at one of those two places. I think if he ends up at the Raiders, I think the Jets could be in the market for like Jimmy Garoppolo because you do have Robert Saleh, you do have.
Familiar spots.
Yeah, familiar coaches.
But what about Zach Wilson?
You can't go into next season with Zach Wilson as your starter. I think everybody kind of knows that at this point. If the Jets end up getting Rodgers, Raiders, I don't know what you do there. You could go get a.
What about Chris Streveler?
Oh.
I had to look that name up.
Yeah. I was gonna say if you're the Raiders, maybe you go get a decent quarterback, someone like Derek Carr.
Wait.
Because, I mean, that's so tough for them and so tough for Derek Carr too. But, yeah, I think if you're the Raiders, you have to go all in on Aaron Rodgers. And if you don't get it, you're in a tough situation where maybe you just try and rebuild everything, wait till next year. But
Maybe so.
Then you have Devontae Adams and
Maybe they roll with Jared
a
Stidham.
few other win-now pieces. I don't know what you do. So,
Could Jared Stidham be their next Raiders great QB? That would be
I mean,
completely out of left field.
yeah, that's pretty unlikely, I think. But you never know. Weirder things have happened. That's all the teams I have written down.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any others you were thinking of.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I tried to see. I almost put the Patriots down, but
No.
that would have been a question mark team. I think they stick with Mac Jones.
They're gonna. I will say this: there won't be any more of the. Well, there was Matt Patricia holding him back. So when they come in and bring the guy they actually wanted, I think for over a year now.
Yeah.
That's been my conspiracy theory: is they couldn't get O'Brien to leave, so they kind of just let this year ride out, and they're like, oh, I can manage this. I'm Bill Belichick. That's another story for another day. But if it's the same picture last year where Mac Jones is struggling and they're not moving the ball down the field very well, and they're not making the playoffs, I think it's time to draft another quarterback.
Yep.
So it's the make or break year for Mac Jones, but I also think they're going to go get him help. So, and we saw the product when he has competent coaching, when he had virtually the same roster around him, and it's just the difference of Matt Patricia versus Josh McDaniels. So I
Yeah.
think that when he has the right coaching and the right offense, he's top 12, top 14, 15 QB. I'm not going to try to make a Kyrian take here.
Yeah, somewhere around that. But
He's a Pro Bowl quarterback.
that's not much of an accomplishment really anymore.
He could go play flag football in Vegas.
Yeah, Mac Jones can play all the flag football he wants. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of The Cover 2, presented by Tigervision.
We want to thank Zach and Connor, as always.
As always, can't do it without them.
They actually have Radio Row appearances, too.
Yeah,
Just like us.
They got credentials, we did not.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to do it. We want to thank y'all for tuning in. Click whatever buttons. Just share, like, comment.
All the buttons.
Follow, whatever. Do whatever you feel like doing today.
If I see a comment with just random letters, then I will indeed know that you did type all the buttons, and we'll be very happy.
But yeah, that's going to do it. We want to thank y'all as always, and we'll see y'all next week. Have a good one.